Hi Michelle, I just wanted to give you some feedback on your week 2 research and idea generation. I thought that doing a screencast might be the best way to do it. So look, overall I'm really pleased with how this is coming along. There's a really consistent style that you've investigated through your research. So what I'll do now is we'll just go through sort of page by page. So on this first page, I really like that you've denoted the illustration style with this very simple line drawing here. Things that you can do just to improve your annotations would be using adjectives to describe that sort of style. So I've just given you an example here. Things like charming and whimsical may help just to add a bit more detail. I really like that the tones and the colour that's coming through in a lot of the vintage style graphics are those muted pastel tones. I just gave you 2 ticks down here because of the way you've picked up contrast in the 2 different typeface styles. That was excellent. So just scrolling down, here you've indicated the type style, you've talked about the contrast again. Things you can do to just improve your annotations would be to identify that it is a serif font and the fact that it's all caps, and compare that to the cursive style and the fact that it's lowercase. Moving down, you've done really well here in picking, look at these fantastic sort of vintage inspired graphics. They do use, again, that sort of muted pastel colours. I thought this particular example here was an excellent analysis of the elements. Don't forget too that you've got the use of pattern here behind in those radiating bands that come out from behind the central figure. And one thing I did want to draw your attention to with a lot of these vintage posters is they often use a lot of texture. And I've asked you here, why do you think this is? Well, I guess it's probably just to sort of give that aged look, so that you can see the edge here, it's textured, and also on this one, you can see that there's a little bit like it's rubbed away, like the image is quite old. So I think that's another feature that you want to be picking up on. Aren't these colours fantastic? That strawberry and mint. Beautiful, and the lovely little whimsical illustrations here, that have no outline, and there's a bit of an off-register thing happening here, so you can see a bit of the white background, which makes it look like an old sort of lino print or traditional printmaking. So that's another common thing that I didn't actually comment on, but I've just picked it up now. Other things too, this use of bunting is really popular with vintage style graphics. And I just thought this is interesting, this chalkboard. I love that you've got the chalkboard examples here, but yeah, looking at this typeface, it really doesn't sort of suit the vintage style, does it? It's all lowercase, quite a sort of bold, fat, rounded typeface. These are great, Michelle, all these little carts that you found, and the fact that you've picked up that, this pattern here at the very top is a common link, and that's an element that you want to bring into your work, which is terrific. These are great, these logo shape ideas. Really pleased with your variety there and playing around with the different ribbons, the ribbon's up high here and it's down low on this side. That's all great, it's going really well. Your sketches are really nicely done, and you've annotated your ideas thoroughly there. Some lovely concepts coming through here with the ice cart and the polar bear and the combination of the two. Some really good things there. I like that you've thought about the blackboard shapes and using the silhouette. And then getting onto the ice cream packaging, I really like your research here. I also like that you've picked up the coffee cups and this particular packaging here. The graphics are quite different from the pastel and the patterns that might be evident in this one and this pistachio one. So that's really important that you've got a contrast of graphic styles so that you can draw from a wider range of influences. I really like here, the scalloped edges on the top of this ice cream container, and I like that you're thinking about spoons. There's see, later on with your design of the spoons and the end of the spoon and the design that goes in it, that's been a real influence for you. I thought this was a really interesting one. It's a bolder design from some of the pastel, subtle designs that are happening. We've got this bold ground with very white font, so it really pops out, and this colour in the background, sort of watermelon-y colour, is a lot stronger than some of the other colours in the examples you found. These are great, Michelle, really nice little drawings. When we draw ellipses or cylindrical forms, you've just got to be careful with the shapes here. I wonder if I can get my tool and show you. I don't have the best drawing tool here, but you've just got to be careful to try and make this really nice and smooth and round. You get used to drawing this a lot, and make sure that this curve here is the same as this curve up the top, just to keep things really consistent. Here's a good example. This curve is quite tall here, and it's quite shallow here, so just, some subtle variations. You don't have to go back and fix this. I'm just sort of pointing it out to you for future sketches. This is lovely. You've got a really beautiful freehand sketch here. You've used lovely sensitive tone on this side to pick up the three-dimensional qualities. Really like your idea here with the chalkboard sticker. That's great, showing real innovation. Really loved this page. Ways of personalising the spoon and keeping it in the same, keeping the identity of the ice cream store going through all the way to the end of the spoon. That's really important. And here I can see you've explored a lot of pattern, and I can see the picking up of the scalloped edges from your research, which is really great. You might want to comment on some of the patterns here. Zigzag, that's quite a strong geometric shape and pattern, so comment on whether you think that's appropriate for the audience and for the purpose. And getting down here, it's really good to see some colour in your work, which is fantastic, but I did want you to have a little think about whether you think the colours that you've used here and also the media, whether that's really appropriate, because I noticed from your research there's a lot of really subtle colours and subtle sort of tones, so maybe texture's just a bit too bold for this one. So you might, I don't know if you've got some really nice soft pencils that you might want to use instead of texture, because what tends to happen with texture is it can bleed, and it's very strong. You can't get the sort of fine quality here. See how the line's really sorry about that, how the line's really thick. So you just might want to try some pencil, which would be really good. And again, your final page of idea generation, I really liked this, that you're going into the nitty-gritty of pattern, and you've identified a lot of pattern in your research, and the sort of pattern that's indicative of that ice cream cart vintage style. So all in all, it's going really, really well, Michelle. So remember, just add some colour to your sketches and use a more appropriate media, so lighter pencil would be great. But really, really pleased how it's going. You've done a great job. I can see you're really passionate about it, so well done.